Hey everybody, I'm Sam Haymart and you're watching Growing Older Gay. Today we are talking about gay hookup safety. Yep, hook it up. It's a lot of fun. It's exhilarating getting out there and having a good time with a new guy. It's part of living our best gay life. We have the meds, we have the places to play, we've got all of the opportunities, we've got great apps that all make it easy, quick, fast, and fun to get out there and get dirty. But it is a dangerous world out there, guys. We've got to talk about a few easy and quick things that you can do to help preserve your safety and perhaps even your life. So you've got your apps in hand, you're ready to go, you've been scrolling, you're horny AF. The first piece of advice that I would give is slow your roll down a little bit and don't be in such a hurry to get with hot hung muscle that you overlook the red flags that are glaring right there, that you overlook basic tenets of watching out for yourself and providing for your safety, whether you're having them over or whether you're going out to meet them. Make sure that you're taking the time to make sure that you're not only in the right place yourself, but that you're taking care of yourself in the way of safety. The first and most important rule on the apps, or even when you meet somebody out in public, is don't put too much personal information out there early on. And that means don't put your phone number, your address, or any identifying information that can allow somebody to find you or harass you on your profile. And I wouldn't necessarily give that out until you're ready and completely confident that that's a person that you're ready to have come over to your house. Don't do that. Another thing is don't put financial information out there. There's a lot of people out there, we'll talk about scammers in another segment, but there's a lot of people out there that are just trying to get your financial information so that they can scam you in one way, shape, or form. And that can also include bragging about how much you make. A lot of us are successful, but be very careful about being too showy or too forward about your level of wealth, because that can attract somebody who's looking to ultimately scam you or rob you. Don't share where you work. Don't share your employer online where somebody can use that to get to you either now or later. Also be careful about how you handle your social media accounts relative to the dating and hookup apps. Some of the apps say log on with Facebook, log on with this or that. Be very careful about that, because if you connect those things, there are back-end ways that those apps can really let a lot of your data out there and connect you up with that app that you might not want to do. If you're a very private person, if you are, maybe you're on the DL, just be very careful about that. And that also goes to putting your links to your social media on your profile. A lot of people do that. A lot of people don't. You never really want to do that unless A, you've got alt accounts that don't identify you, that don't allow your friends and family to connect those things up if you don't want them to know, or your employer. Just be very careful about that. And that really gets to a number of other areas on how we measure our privacy that we'll talk about in a separate segment. One of the most important things we can do when we're out there surfing the apps and really getting excited about somebody is we want to verify that they're a real person, right? I mean, there's there's not only AI and bots, but there's a lot of people out there that are catfishing, or they're a bad actor just looking to get you someplace. The first thing I would say is you want pictures. If you have an app that's got no pictures, no information, that's a red flag. That's the first thing. But if they don't have pictures that are showing more than their dick or their hole, that's a red flag. Ask them for a face picture. Always demand a face picture before you go and agree to meet anyone. Before you have them over, before you go over, a face pic. If they can't provide a face picture, that's a red flag. We have phones. We can take one right now, right here, and send it on over. If somebody's not willing to do that, the most basic bit of information, don't even bother. Another thing I like to do is check their social media links. A lot of the apps out there allow people to connect their Instagram, Facebook, Blue Sky, whatever. It's a great way to dive into that and really get a feel for their vibe. See what they're like. What does their life look like? Do they have a life? Do they do a lot of good, fun things, right? Or are they just kind of dark and there's not a lot there? Be aware of people that have brand new social media accounts that have no information on them. And this gets to a lot of the scammers. Sometimes that is one of the things they do is you'll click on their Instagram, you'll click on their Facebook, and it's just it looks like a stock photo and then there's nothing else there. They don't have any friends. It's kind of weird. That's a red flag. But conversely, Don't judge the person that doesn't have any of their social media accounts attached to their profile. A lot of guys out there are private. There was a long time that I didn't do that because I didn't have social media accounts that weren't related to my not gay life work. And I wasn't ready to put those things together. I have that on my profile now, but I've got social media accounts linked there that gives people a good window into my gay life and lets them get an idea of who I am and what I'm about. But a lot of people aren't like that. A lot of people, just because they don't have that, don't see that as a red flag immediately. Another good idea is to use an app that has a verification feature. Some of the apps, Scruff is one of them, has a feature where you have to take a selfie with different hand signals or different faces, things like that, and then a real person verifies that. Once you're verified, you get a little badge or a little check mark by your name so that people know that somebody has proven that you're a real person. This is an extra layer of safety. It's not 100% bulletproof, but it's a great way to look at that badge and know that somebody has gone through the motions and actually wanted to show that they're a real person. The last part of really verifying that you're talking to a real person is to have some kind of a video call, a phone call, something that lets you hear their voice. This is a great way to get their vibe. It's a great way to see if just how they interact and how they behave is really what you're looking for, or if they're high AF and maybe you don't want that. And usually bad actors, somebody who's out to hurt you in some way, shape, or form, usually isn't going to want to do that. So that's a nice test if you're really worried about somebody. Maybe it's somebody you've seen in the clubs and you already know. Maybe they're partly known to you and you're not as worried about it. But if they're a complete stranger and you're just not sure yet, try that. Because somebody who is ready and willing to have a phone call or a FaceTime with you is probably willing to go the next step and is likely to be a little bit safer than the next guy. This is a big one. Beware scammers. Yeah, scammers on the apps. Who would have thunk it? There's a lot of them. I've experienced them myself. And there's usually a number of telltale signs if you really know what to look for. And the first one is photos that are just too good to be true. They have an AI or a stock photo feel. Famous places, beautiful locations. They look like they're doing lifestyle catalog stuff. They're not real pictures or they're not real people. I have even seen AI generated photos of guys that just, and then you start seeing these people show up with different identities time after time after time with the same pictures. It's like they don't get it. Watch out for pictures that are too good to be true or look fake. You want to watch out for people that are pressuring you to give them information like your address or your phone number, even when you're saying no. They don't want to know about what you're into, what you want to do. They want to know where you live. They want to know how they can get a hold of you, or they want some piece of information that enables them to take the next step or get you off of that app. That's really what a lot of them are trying to do, is get you off that app where there's a trail so that you're alone with your phone number or they know where you live. Don't go there. That's most likely a scam. And this is obvious. Beware of those profiles that provide little or no information, maybe no face picture, no photos at all. And when you scroll down to read about who they are and what they're about, there's nothing there. I see this all the time, particularly on Grindr and Sniffies especially. People just log on and start wanting to know, send me a picture. Where are you at? What's up? Hey. And they haven't even bothered to log in or set up an account. Watch out for these people. Most of the time they're fake, and there's a reason they're being a little bit slippery like that. Not only could they be a bad actor that wants to harm you, but they could be a scammer looking for ways to get into your pocketbook or just get into your house and find out more about you to leverage you in some way, shape, or form. And that gets us to the last part. Beware of that guy that immediately starts asking for money or giving you a sad sob story or telling you about some great investment opportunity. This is the biggest scam that I have seen over and over again. They not only have all of the traits we've already talked about, but within 3 or 4 sentences, before we've even talked about the size of my thing or what I like to do, top or bottom, they're saying things like, oh, I'm in the investment business. I have some great opportunities and I help people make more money. Really? Let's have sex then. Watch out for people that are just really trying to get into those conversations before it even makes sense. That's usually a good indication. There's a lot of them out there. So just beware of the scammers that just want to do other things besides have a conversation about what are we doing, where are we going, and when are we going to do it. We have tools to protect ourselves against all of the things that we've just talked about so far, and that is the block and the report features on most all of these apps. These enable you to block this person and keep them from being able to see you and to learn more about you beyond the conversations you've already had. It enables you to not see them anymore. The caveat there is if they set up a new account. And I've seen a lot of tweaker creeps out there, and I'm sorry, I'm not judging tweakers, but there's some tweaker creeps out there that I've had to block because they never take no for an answer. They never get it. They're just, they're on 24/7 and they're hitting me up at 2 or 3 in the morning and they can't understand why I'm not there answering their question. So I usually block these people. Those are red flags for me. And when I get messages in the middle of the night that keep going, and they keep coming back for more, even though I've said I'm not interested, I sleep at night, whatever. Block those people. And if there's somebody who's a scammer or who's giving you danger vibes, red flags in that way, report these people. Not only are you protecting yourself, you are protecting the next guy who they might approach. And this is kind of an aside. Make sure you have a conversation with people before you agree to a meet about what you expect and what you want out of the get-together. What are your sexual preferences around STI prevention, condoms, medications? What do you want to do? Do you want a top, bottom, side? Establish your policy for tolerance around drug use or poppers. What are your expectations? What are they into? What are you into? Have those conversations. Not only is it going to ensure that your meetup is going to be a little bit more positive and mutual, but strategically, having this conversation is a great way to continue ferreting out whether this person's real or not. Because here's the deal, people who are scammers, catfish, or are bad actors who might mean you harm often aren't willing to go very detailed and deep into sexual conversations about what they like, what you want to do, and how we want to do it. They're not that deep most of the time. When they start giving you one-word answers, or even more importantly, saying yes to whatever it is you ask or suggest, just to get you engaged, to get you there, or to get to your house, watch out for that. That is a big red flag. The next thing I want to talk about is situational awareness. Now, this is kind of more like a 30,000-foot view of where you're at and what you're about. Know your neighborhood, know where you're at, know if you're traveling, especially if you're in an area that has an increased level of danger or targeting for the LGBTQ plus community. Now, most gay guys, when we travel someplace, we tend to travel where we know we're safe. But if we're out there on business or something like that, just sort of keep an eye on the area that you're in. Know that maybe if you walk out the door with your rainbow shirt on, that you might be really putting yourself in a bad spot. So know what's going on in the area where you're at. The next thing is know yourself and what is your tolerance level for being out. Maybe you're not out to your family. Maybe you're not out at work. Know that being on the apps and going out and meeting people and potentially putting yourself in a situation can make you vulnerable to being either blackmailed or inadvertently outed. So if you're somebody on the DL, which I don't recommend, but a lot of guys do it, I meet you guys out there, be very careful about what you do and say on the apps and who you're going to meet. The next thing to be aware of is if you're traveling, there are some countries and some localities where being gay or LGBTQ plus is illegal. Being on the apps and going out and hooking up is illegal. Cruising in the park is illegal. Well, that's most places, but really know what you're getting into when you're putting yourself out there. And in some places, it is known that law enforcement uses the social media apps, particularly the cruising apps, for entrapment. So just be aware of those things. And the last part of online safety is really know the app you're using and how it's exposing you and how it's presenting you to the outside world. Some of the apps that have map grid features, like Sniffies as an example, they have an ability for you to go in there and program it and tell it whether it's going to show your location, if it's going to be random, or how accurate it is. And this goes to some of the other apps as well that tell people what your distance is. And so if you're in a public space where you are in view, know that if you are on a map, if you are showing up in a certain space, know that that's what you want. Know that you're ready to be recognized by somebody walking by in a restaurant, in a park, in an airport, whatever that may be. And I'll tell you, I had a friend once who was not out and he was pretty well known. You know, he was a known quantity out there in the world, and he started a little Grindr account, and he was sitting in the airport one day just kind of passing time. He wanted to see any gays around him, and he puts a picture of himself on there, and he's flirting around and doing his thing, and the next thing he knows, people in the airport, he's getting looks from people. So just know that if people can see where you are, how far you are away, they can start looking around and doing this thing. So just know that, and know that there are features on these apps that can allow you to randomize your location. And this is particularly helpful if you're in a hotel or in an apartment complex and you don't necessarily want to know or you want your immediate neighbors to know that you're the guy next door. Or maybe you do, but that's what those features are for. All right, my friends, that is it for our first episode of Gay Hookup Safety, lessons that I've learned and things I picked up along the way. Now, we have an entire playlist of multiple episodes around this topic. This first one, of course, was online safety and privacy precautions. The next one is going to be on the go, what we have to think about and what we need to do when we're actually getting ready to go out and meet somebody or have them over to our house, or whatever that meetup looks like. Things to think about, things to really keep in mind. And so you'll see that episode right there on our Gay Hookup Safety playlist. We're gonna have multiple episodes around different topics here. And you can also subscribe to our YouTube channel right there and stay informed of all of this stuff we do, because we do a lot.